So whether you've been in the grocery store or at the gas pump, or even if you're just trying to buy a home or just DIY some projects, you will notice that the prices of things have kind of crept up a little bit right underneath our noses. So in this video, guys, I'm going to give you guys 8 ways that you can actually fight off or fight against inflation, so that way you keep yourself safe and you're able to have money for things that you need and you're able to survive, or if not, conquer. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So if you're new to the channel, feel free to stick around, like and subscribe. On this channel I talk about money, I talk about investing and finances, how you can succeed whether you have money or maybe you don't have a lot of money. And just like this video, we're all about being proactive versus just being reactive. So all through the pandemic, we've heard our federal government say, hey, we are going to fight off, we are not going to have any inflation whatsoever. But here we are. Now, if you don't know, things have become a little bit more expensive. Everybody knows about real estate. Everybody knows about the price of lumber, but a lot of things have been going up since, the pandemic started. Now, back in 2020, our inflation rate was 1.4, and now it's currently in 2021 already at 5.0. Now, the Federal Reserve came out and said, hey, we're actually going to, maintain this lower level of inflation, meaning that they're going to maintain it, they're going to let it persist, which means that you will continue to see things to get a little bit more expensive during this time. Now, whether this will stay or whether it will go, we don't know. Will it ever be a case where we get back to normal? We have no clue. Now, that case is pretty simple. If we get back to normal, the price of everything goes down, but then here comes the other issue. But what if we don't go back to normal? And even things like concerning real estate, we are now seeing the new prices of real estate. Or let's look at how things are rising in lumber. Well, maybe we're looking at the new prices of lumber. Because let's be honest, if you can get somebody to pay 10 times more what they were paying like a year ago, and people are still buying it, would you even consider going back to the original price, or would you just continue to keep it higher because you can get the money? Now, with the unique situation that we're in a pandemic where our government is indeed pushing everybody to get back to normal, people to get back to work. They're cutting things like employment, as well as cutting things like the mortgage moratoriums, basically the things that protected people from losing their homes and going into foreclosures. A lot of those things are currently being cut and being done away with right now. And so that means that someone is going to hurt and there's going to be bleeding through this process. Now, all the while that people are being pushed back to work, etc., and people are still working their jobs. The interesting thing about inflation is your pay raise does not equate to the inflation that's happening. So if inflation goes up, your job doesn't come to you and say, hey, here's an inflation bonus. We know the price of lumber is going up. You might have some DIY projects at home, or we know gas is going up. They don't give you an inflation bonus or an inflation pay raise. Now, that also raises the concern, does $15 an hour really suffice as we're starting to see the price of things go up? As you can see, other companies, like for example, like Amazon, they're giving people $20 an hour. Now, this brings about some very interesting situations, as nobody was prepared to have to pay higher prices, especially while we're, I don't want to say coming out of a pandemic, but still somewhat in a pandemic. Everything is not back to normal, even though people are making it seem like, oh, it's okay and everything is back to normal. There's a lot of things that have changed over the last year and a half that will never go back to being the same, and it has indeed affected a lot of people. Now, through it all, there are ways that you can fight against and beat inflation to keep yourself in a good position so that way you're not affected as much or even affected at all. Now, the first way is investing in the stock market, investing in general. Now, the reason why investing is so powerful is because you can get a higher rate of return in investing than you can with just saving your money. Because we all know that the savings rate, especially now, even on most of the high interest savings, that their savings rates have came down significantly as their interest rates are low. And that's another thing. So saving your money, you even in a high interest savings, is not going to get you the return that you're looking for, because most of them are now around, on average, like 0.5%. Versus pre-pandemic, you could find 1, 2, or even 3%, which I know that might seem like, not a lot, but that is for a savings account. So with investing, your returns can be a lot larger, especially depending on how you invest. If you're investing in, companies that are more stable, that are larger, that are growing, just in those arenas where it makes sense to invest in long term, to which growing your money through the long run and it's beating inflation, versus if you take a $20 bill and you put it underneath your mattress, 20 years later, that $20 bill is not going to be able to buy what it can buy today. But if that $20 bill could turn into like $100 or $200 because it was invested right, then that money could make more sense and may be able to actually help you out in the long run 20 years from now. Number 2, income, making more money, point blank period. Now that's rather if you're doing a side hustle, or even if it's you starting a business, or you're able to make some type of affiliate income, or even if it's simply getting a raise in your job, or maybe if you're in an arena where it seemingly is dying off, this might be a time to now consider looking into something new. And if you can do that, then that may be able to be a blessing for you. Finding something new, getting into a field where there's a lot of money flowing to, that could work in your benefit as well. So making more money. Third one is actually owning a home. So if you own a home and inflation and things are going up, and just to say, for example, right now with real estate, with everything rising and things like that, that also equates to some value within your home. So let's say, for example, in my particular area where we live, the house costs and the house prices, the value of the homes have been going up around about $2,000 to $3,000 a month, back pre-pandemic. Now, catch it up to today, you have seen the value of homes in my area go up anywhere from $5,000 a month as much as $14,000 to $15,000 a month. Number 4, being smart with your money. Now, being smart with your money means being smart with your money. Now, that means you might change the way you buy things. It might also mean you might change the way that you shop. That means now you might buy something that lasts you a lot longer than buying something that might not last as long, so you don't have to keep spending that money. Now, in that case, you might pay a little bit more for quality, but it will last you long enough where you don't have to constantly keep buying. And so that's another thing, is just being able to purchase things a little bit smarter, being smarter with what you buy, what you do with your money, which leads to the next one, which is having other options to consider. Now, in particular with this, I'm talking about like things like college and going to school and things like that. Now, this is the season where we have a lot of people, going to college, and congratulations to those. But the rising costs of college are just ridiculous, and there is pretty much no excuse for it. And now we live in a society where college is not what it used to be, and you can go to school for 2 years, a community college. You can go to get some training for, within a trade for a couple years, or even you can learn some things for about 6 months and actually go right into work. So having other options that are going to cost you less money in the long run is highly important. And so that leads me to the next point, which is also like just managing and watching your debt. Watch the type of debt that you take on, especially as you're seeing the rising price of things starting to happen. As I stated, we don't know how long it's going to be. It might be a new normal. We don't know because it's beyond our control, but what we can do is we can prepare. So minimizing your debt can help a lot, especially if you're having to put out more money towards more things that are more of a necessity for you and your family. You don't want to have to, be shelling out a whole lot of money in debt, during that time. So you want to be able to have access. You want to have access to more of your money and be able to use more of your money for the things that you really need. Now, here's another one that people may not have thought about, and that is growing your own food. That has become a big thing, nowadays, where people are getting into, having gardens and growing their own food. Of course, the more food that you grow and you can live off of and you can eat off of, that means you don't have to buy it. And it's self-sustaining because the seed begets the fruit, which gives you another seed. So it's almost like just a cycle of life happening over and over and over again. And it can indeed save you a lot of money. And it has been something that has definitely been growing. A lot of people have been starting to really get into, even if it's not a large garden, but just being able to grow food for them and their family. Another one you may not have thought about is having a sense of community. So when the prices and things are rising and the cost of things are going up, having a good community, a strong community around you is important. Well, and that's for many reasons. So let's say, for example, if you can do something and somebody in your community can do something else, you guys may be able to help each other out, as well as if you are in need and you need help with something and you have someone that you can go to and you can ask that might be able to help you out. Now, it doesn't just mean money. It can be just, a numerous of things. So having a nice community, a sense of family can really be huge during the time where you're seeing things and prices start to rise and we start to go into kind of like a new, economy or a new way of things are being done right now. And so those are 8 different things that can help you against inflation. Now, if you have any other ideas, please drop them below in the comments for the community. But guys, always remember the goal is to be proactive and not reactive. But I hope this has indeed been helpful for you. So I will talk to you guys on the next video. Y'all have a good one. Be blessed. Peace.